Yeah, right, Ash. I'm one of these people. I grew up in a part of Glasgow where it was 50% us, 50% them. We all got on, we all mixed. There was no, it wasn't like a village mentality where I grew up. So I've always been sort of, you win some, you lose some, you get some decisions, you don't get some decisions, whatever, whatever. Whenever the word corruption or corrupt or cheat is used, I sort of retreat into a shell and go, no, nonsense. It just doesn't happen. Some referees might have a persuasion one way or the other, and they might have gave the odd decision based on their loyalties, but 9 times out of 10, or as many times out of 10 as possible, they give the decision that they think's right in the moment. After the cup final, when Cherny's should have had a penalty, and it was blatantly obvious he should have had a penalty, and maybe with the ref, if there was no VAR, the referee might not see that and give a free kick, and then there's no recourse for us to go, well, the referee should have 100% seen that. That's corruption, that's cheat, right? But with VAR, you look at that and you go, how did you get that wrong, right? So that blows up for a while. And then we kind of move past that a wee bit, and it kind of gets forgotten about as the season finishes and you move into the next one. Ash, I can't think of a single reason or excuse or decision that the people in that VAR room have came to with regards to not sending off Trusty for choosing, right, not a follow through, for choosing to deviate his foot and kick Butland in the head. Um, can you think of a justification for that being a yellow?
The only justification for it not being a yellow, or maybe not justification, but the reason it wasn't, is because Celtic are refereed to a completely different standard to everybody else in Scottish football, and officials are absolutely terrified to give big decisions against them, to the point where it's not even just marginal decisions. It's, 70-30 against Celtic, it's 65-35 against Celtic. And the referee, whether it's conscious or subconscious, will try and find a way not to give the big decision against Celtic. It's as simple as that. And for me, yesterday, what I saw with Walsh is he refereed us instinctively. So he went with his gut. He was quick. He was decisive. Whether you agree with all his decisions in terms of the punishments he handed out is maybe another question. But you look at the length of time it took him to give the penalty against Ralston. It's almost a long, reluctant whistle. You can actually hear the consequences churning through in his mind. Do I need to give this penalty? If I give this penalty, is it going to be a second yellow? If I don't give the penalty, will VAR intervene? You can almost hear that happening, that mental thought process going on in his head. And yet with Asgard, before we really even understood what had happened, the red card was being brandished and Asgard was getting sent off. So, I'm at the stage now, and I'm probably going to get a little bit of stick for this, but I genuinely think if I was Rangers, I'd support them in saying we're not going to participate in Old Firm games whilst there's Scottish officials refereeing. We need to go back to basics. We need to, reinstall trust in our officials in Scotland, because at the moment we're not getting a level playing field. And how can we possibly go and compete in a game of football when we just don't get any rub of the green at all, and every marginal decision goes Celtic's way? It's a joke. And yesterday was just laughable, some of the decisions that Walsh made.
Trev, do you think it'll ever get to that point? I mean, I remember all the years ago, Celtic initiated a referee strike because of whatever was going on there. It was a long time ago. Do you think that is a possibility that could happen? Do you think this Rangers board now, these owners have got the cojones to look at that and go, something's not right here, we need an investigation?
Well, I believe, and I don't know when it'll happen, if it'll happen, Rangers are drawing up a dossier of not just one, but many decisions that went against us over X amount of time, and then they're going to present it to the SFA with a clear-cut kind of documentation of evidence to say, right, here's the proof that this is, and they'll actually try and, I think, maybe include other decisions as well, maybe outside Rangers, to make it fair, so they can't say we're biased. I don't know the details of what happened with Celtic and the strike back in the day. Someone would need to fill me in, but I can't see it coming to that, because what would happen in my eyes if Rangers were to do that, they would come down with the maximum fines, the maximum disciplinary rules against us. They would do everything they possibly can, dot points, you name it, and just start papping us out of competitions. We would need to go further. I don't know if UEFA, I know they're, don't laugh at the back, I know they're as dodgy and corrupt as the rest of them in FIFA, but where do you go after that to actually start challenging so everyone's got to be liable for something, mate. Even the CEO of a company is liable by the board members. The board members are liable by the shareholders, etc., etc. Everyone's got a boss. So we need to, there's surely an avenue we go further and go, right, I'm not going to say the corruption word yet either, Martin, like you said the other day, but it's getting closer and closer to that with evidence. Evidence just says it all, doesn't it? How can you go that far and it not be corrupt? It's just absolutely shocking that they rely on decisions like that to actually get them over the line. And enough's enough.
In terms of these decisions, Ash, right, and I'm not going to name names because I'm just not. There is one referee who I know for a fact is a dyed-in-the-wool Rangers supporter, right? But puts his allegiances to the side when he's refereeing, goes out there and tries to do his job. And he is a referee, by the way, that I guarantee you everybody in our comments would go, no, he's not a Rangers supporter, because look at the decisions that he gives against us. And he's been named quite a lot by Rangers supporters as being very pro-Celtic, right? What is causing Celtic to get these decisions?
A very well executed plan to cultivate an environment where people are terrified to give decisions against Celtic. I mean, even you could see the spin happening after the full-time whistle yesterday, where all of a sudden we were focused on the offside goal that they had disallowed in the first 15 minutes. I didn't see the lines. That was marginal. That might not have been offside. Celtic may have been done dirty there. And then the Ralston penalty, you had that narrative being spun that what's he meant to do? He's fallen over. Is he meant to chop his arm off? And what that does is it creates the climate of, right, okay, so Rangers got a bad decision against them, but so did Celtic. Celtic had a couple. Do you know what? Overall, over the balance of the game, it probably works out about the same. Well, no, it doesn't, because we got a penalty with 12 minutes to go after we'd already played nearly a whole half of football with 10 men. That should have been evened up at half time. And do you know what's even more incredible? Sorry, Martin, just on that, is the first thing you get taught when you play football is once your team or the opposition team's had a red card, your manager will say to you, don't do anything daft. Don't give the referee a decision to make, because subconsciously he's going to want to level it up. I mean, that's laughable. There was not a more obvious red card to give yesterday, but even with that kind of backdrop, there was no way that Walsh was going to produce the red card for that kick on Jack Butland. So for me, it's a very well executed plan by the likes of Lowell, who basically controls Scottish football, has controlled the narrative around referees, all the penalty to Rangers nonsense in the last few seasons as well, done its job. And now there's a climate amongst refs that, do you know what, it's actually just not worth the hassle. Given a big decision against Celtic. It's not great doing it against Rangers, but they'll get over it. They'll write a statement, the fans will complain, but normal service will resume and everything goes on. Whereas with Celtic, it would be weeks and weeks of drama and headlines, and the rest just can't be bothered with it. And that's my honest opinion. I think that it's more than, rather than corruption, I think it's more just they don't need the hassle.
I also think the media's got a part to play in this as well, Trev. I mean, we all remember, and it still gets said now, penalty to Rangers. Remember that? When Rangers got penalties, when like 90% of them were penalties. I remember, did somebody not phone up Clyde and go, I'm raging at Rangers getting that penalty to Rangers, and the boy says, but was it no a penalty? And he went, aye, it was, but it was the time they got it at. And you're like that, right? Well, that's the kind of stupid that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
I think that's now 70 or 71 games Celtic have went without a red card, Trev. Yeah, it's like a world record, apparently. I've not looked into the actual numbers, but can we start saying no red card Celtic?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and the media are definitely part of this.
And by the way, the fact that you didn't even know anything about that, Trev, if the shoe was in the other foot, you would know all about that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I probably don't know it because I don't know a lot about Celtic. I don't know a lot of their players because I don't follow them. I don't give a shit, to be honest with you. But it's mind-blowing, Martin, that's that. The media have got their part in this. They always have. The spin machines, they do anything for a click. Some of them generally, a lot of them don't like us. That's definitely part of it. But also, how do you get more clicks, Martin? Let's blame Big Bad Rangers. You'll get more clicks, you'll get more revenue, more money. It's not that they want to do us in necessarily, some of them. what will get them the most clicks and the most revenue, and that is Big Bad Rangers. So that's why they do it. They can't be in. Some of them are impartial, and the ones that are more impartial are the ones that have got more leanings towards Rangers, believe it or not.
I know a couple of the guys, Trev. I know a couple of the guys in the media who work for newspapers, and they are massive blue noses, and they've got no editorial control on what they put out.
Yeah. Someone higher up with certain leanings will be like, no, that's not going outside, not happening, no chance at all. I don't know how you. I generally don't know how you fix that. I hope that goes in the dossier about the 72 games without a red card. That's absolutely blown my mind, guys.